Hey guys, thanks for tuning into the show. So just real quick before we get started, I am Joao Sosa, or as many people know me as Jed Taylor. Basically what this show is going to do is every week before and after the games have started and concluded, we're going to take a look at some of the different matchups, try and come up with some predictions, and just talk about different things around the league. So yes, Heisman candidates will be thrown in there. We'll talk about team of the weeks, we'll talk about players of the game, and different ways what we can look to see that we can help to improve on how our games can become better, and what we can look to see for different matchups and how one team can win over another, etc., etc. But without further ado, let's dive into today's topic. So today we're really going to focus on some changes made in the league, and then we're going to go into our two big games for Friday night, which is today. So number one, if we're just looking at OCFA as a whole, we're so used to the two conferences, and the winner from each conference goes in to make the Triumph Bowl, Triumph Bowl, OCFA, right? So with that, NIASL has done away with conferences. So now it's just 10 teams, and the top 4 seeds will play in a BCS Bowl, which will determine who goes into the Triumph Bowl. So for example, if Maryland, Holy Cross, Alabama, and Army, right, are the top 4 teams, then Maryland, being number 1, will play Army, who's number 4, and Holy Cross, who's number 2, is going to play Alabama, who's number 3, right? So those are going to be your two quote-unquote playoff games, but they're really just BCS Bowl games. Everybody, the winner from there will play each other in a Triumph Bowl, and then everybody else gets their own, crappy, regular bowl. So I feel like this is a good thing because it really pushes teams to play harder. So you no longer have to worry about, who's the worst team in the conference. You have to worry more about, is my team going to perform well enough to make sure that we're a top 4 team. So this is really going to put pressure on the committee to take a look at, how many points are being let up by specific defenses, how many points are put up a game, the strength of different teams. Because now that there's no more conferences, you have to take into account the strength of the schedule that you're playing and the point spread by which you beat said teams. So for example, if we want to say, it's because the joke's going around, and in no way, shape, or form am I saying this is a fact, but let's say Boise State is the worst team in the league, okay, and we're going to say that Alabama is a medium okay team, right? If Alabama can beat teams by a 10-point spread, but can barely squeak by Boise State, so let's say they beat Boise State by like 2 points, right, or 1 point, or 3 points, right? But you have a team like Holy Cross that beats Boise State by 60 points or 25 points. Obviously, the team that does better against the poorer team is going to advance. But that being said, if Alabama keeps playing teams that are exactly like Boise State, who is quote-unquote the worst team, but you have Holy Cross that plays teams like, let's say Maryland is the next best thing, and they beat teams like Maryland, they have a stronger schedule. Well, then will that determine if Alabama has a shot at making the top 4 or not? So how are we going to be able to determine based off of just a ranking system who's going to make it in and who's not? So that's just something that that's been on my mind about that. But moving on past that, another cool thing that's been added in, obviously we have weather. We've had that before, but obviously with the new updates, maybe that'll get better. But the pass breakup system and the fumbling. So I like the pass breakup system for the sole reason that it gives people playing defense more of an incentive to cover, especially when it's close coverage. Because I know we've all been at that point where you could be playing DB and you'll be right up on the wide receiver and the quarterback throws a trust ball, it's a 1v1, and you go up to get the ball and you get mossed. That sucks, because in real life you could probably stick your hand up and break up that pass. So with the PBU feature, it gives, DBs a nice little incentive to go up and actually jam a receiver, or to, give them a little bit of added assistance while in the air to break up the pass. And yes, wide receivers can break up passes as well if a DB picks it off. So I think that's a really good added-on feature. It just makes defense more realistic. The fumbling scripts, I'm not sure how those are going to work as yet. They haven't released everything to me. I do know in leagues like PFL, you can press E to protect the ball, and if you don't have the ball protected, you're more likely to fumble. But if it's just, like, I don't know, like LFL, like Legendary Football, if you own the ball and get tackled, there's like a 2% chance you may fumble, etc. I think we're going to see a lot of issues with that around the league. But really quick, we're going to go ahead and look at the 2 games for tonight. So we have Iowa playing Oklahoma at home. That's going to be at 8 p.m. And then we also have Michigan State at Boise State tonight at 8 p.m. as well. Those are going to be some really good matchups. So really quick, just to dive into it, I'm going to take a look at Oklahoma and Iowa first. So for Iowa, I don't really have anything I can say that's positive or negative because I've never seen them play. I haven't taken a look at their roster at all. All I really know is that their starting quarterback got suspended. So I don't know whether that's a crutch to Iowa or not, if they have a good backup. We're going to find out tonight. But Oklahoma, again, if I ever speak on a team, it's from how my team has performed against them or just from what I've seen. So for Oklahoma, they've got a pretty solid defense. Their front two, their DNs could use some work just from how they've played against USF, but I know for a fact that their corners are very good. These are corners that are able to shut down the passing lanes. They're able to, stick with the receivers, and they don't blow coverage late into it. Because I know, there's many times where you can have really good coverage at first, but let's say if the quarterback, breaks out of the pocket and he's able to move downfield, that's where you tend to see wide receivers start to break away and big plays happen. So those are some of the things that Oklahoma's defense is really good at. Now, offensive-wise for Oklahoma, they have, I believe, T.J. Murray at quarterback. So, for the Iowa defense, in order to stop the Oklahoma offense, they've got to limit the amount of space that T.J. Murray has to move his ball. And by saying that, I mean the DNs have to keep containment. Because if you let T.J. Murray out of the pocket, it's practically game over. He's going to be able to scramble with the ball, and again, not knowing Iowa's DBs, but he's able to find the open target. That being said, T.J. Murray's also, he's pretty good in the pocket as well. So you need to force him to throw a 1v1 matchup, and if he does throw that, the DBs have to be there to bat it down. Because Oklahoma has some pretty good wide receivers that can get open, and they're pretty good in space. So the goals for Iowa today: don't let T.J. Murray get in the open, and make sure that if they do catch the ball, you tackle in open space. Other than that, Oklahoma's offense doesn't have, that strong of a running game. It's mainly the passing game and the intangibles by the quarterback to be made during said situations. That's really interesting. So, my pick for this game, Oklahoma-Iowa, just for the sole fact that I don't know Iowa's play style, I'm probably going to have to give Oklahoma in the edger. Now, Michigan State, Nick Soa head coach. Boise State, Brent Grimes a head coach. This will be an interesting matchup. Again, Michigan State, another team that I haven't been able to really study as much, but for Boise. So, Boise has beaten USF, my team, in a preseason game. I think they beat us by like a touchdown or maybe like 2 or 3 points. I don't know. But I will say this. Boise has a defense that is able to keep them in the game if given the chance. But that being said, it all depends on the circumstances. Michigan State, if they have a very good quarterback, they may be able to pick apart Boise's defense. Boise's defense has an issue when it comes to staying in coverage and being able to make the open field tackle. Boise, I don't really know how much to say this. a very key important thing about defense is making the tackles, and not to rip. You know, I'm not trying to like say you're a bad team. I'm saying for defense, if you want to be able to keep themselves in the game, they've got to make tackles. They've got to remember their assignments. They got to stay on their assignments, and they have to limit the amount of big plays that are given up. Because there's many times where I've seen Boise play defense, and they'll hold a team to 4th and long or 3rd and long, and then all of a sudden the next play they let up, you know, a 50-yard touchdown pass or a 30-yard completion for the first down. You gotta limit the amount of big plays that are given up, and that's one of the key things that Boise has to focus on tonight, especially because Nixo's known for his offensive prowess, and they've gotta work on it. Now, Boise offensive struggles have been a big factor. Boise does not run a running back. They go empty backfield, full spread, one quarterback. Now, JT is the quarterback of Boise State, and JT's a decent quarterback. I think the issue with JT is that he gets a little bit flustered in the pocket at times, and he doesn't always make the smartest decision. He tries to create plays that he thinks are there, but they're not there. And so that causes him to try and fit the ball into unnecessary places, and that can either result in a pick six or in an unnecessary turnover. And I know that's something Brent's been talking with his quarterback a lot. So tonight for Boise, if they want to have any chance of staying in the game, they've got to limit the amount of turnovers they do on offense. They have to make sure that they're giving JT better looks, because JT's not a quarterback that can just throw the ball deep. JT's a system quarterback. He's got to find somebody in the middle. He's got to find his checkdowns. He's got to get those short routes first to get himself going. JT's not a quarterback that can just come out and throw a 30-yard bomb, 40-yard bomb just like that. He's got to work into it. So for the Boise coaching staff, they really got to find some kind of play style that's going to be able to help develop JT into the system that they need him to develop in. Because if he's going out there and he's throwing that long ball deep every time, I can't see Boise winning today's game. So my edge out today between Michigan State and Boise State, I have to pick Michigan State just for the sole fact I do not think that if it comes down to a clutch area, JT will be able to hold on to the ball, and this Boise offense will be able to become more productive. But anyways, thank you guys for tuning into the show. Let me know what y'all think about it in the comments below. And what else? If y'all enjoyed this, I'm going to do more for the games on Saturday and for Sunday as well. But thanks for tuning into the show. I'm Joao Sosa, or Jed Taylor. Y'all have a great day. Bye-bye.